All right, so hi everyone. Welcome to today's training, and it's nice having you all. This is the fourth session of the Learn Programming the Easy Way, and in today's session we'll be talking about. We'll have another intro to Figma because we haven't really gone through the interface. So the interface is good to go through the interface, and then we will start writing our first HTML code because I have been the one talking. Although we may have a problem with that because some of us are on our mobile, so I don't know how we will be able to manage that. Perhaps we will have to review the video. Okay, so we will write our first HTML code and we'll write our first CSS code. Okay. All right. So, and then we will talk about Git. Git is a version controller, which is pretty much what it is. Basically, when it comes to programming, you will have different versions of your code. All right. So, say for instance, you're working for a company, okay, and you have like 8 people working on the same project. It's going to be difficult to manage everybody programming at the same time. So, because everybody will have different versions of the same code. All right. So Git is one tool that we use to manage that. Several people programming or contributing to the same code base at the same time or at different times, or even you personally writing your code and you have to close your IDE time to time and then reopen it and go back and maybe break something and then you want to go back to the previous state, So Git is what helps you to manage those versions of the same code. Okay, so we'll talk about that. Okay, so let's get straight into it. So this is Figma. All right, I have sent you all the link to Figma. This is Figma. Figma is a design application. In the past, people used to design with Photoshop, but Photoshop seemed to be an overkill. All right, so later on they introduced Figma. Actually, I think Sketch came before Figma. I can't remember which one came first. Oh wait, Adobe XD. So there is Adobe XD. There is Adobe XD. Adobe XD. Adobe XD is also is designed specifically for web and mobile. So as you can see here, and it's vector based, which is sharp, crisp, it's clean. There is no loss of pixel, like when you zoom in into a picture. It doesn't happen with XD. The same thing with Figma actually. But if you have an image is always an image. If you zoom out, you would lose a pixel nonetheless. So Adobe XD was made specifically to handle web development and mobile, as well as desktop design application. If you want to design desktop application, just the design, not coding, but design. All right. So these are the two things. Okay. Then later on we had Sketch. Sketch is also, So Sketch is also designed specifically for mobile and web and desktop application design, right? I'm emphasizing design. So Sketch is a vector graphics editor for macOS developed by a Dutch company. So the problem with Sketch is that it works only on macOS, all right? So this is the problem with Sketch. Adobe works on both XD both Mac and Windows. And now what we're using is Figma. Okay. Oh, Figma hasn't updated their website. Okay, so we're using Figma. So there is a reason why we're using Figma. Figma is cross-platform, which means that it works both on Windows and on Mac, and it's widely used. And with Figma, you can have a team work on the same design at the same time. All right, it's yeah, programming stuff. But basically, several people can work on the same project at the same time. Mr. Kudus, you are going to say something? Welcome to the house. Nice to have you. Just remember, guys, if you want to say something, unmute, and then you can, so we can hear you. All right, so let's go back to Figma. So this is Figma. It's a design tool, and this is where you build your design. All right. Somebody asked me, a friend of mine asked me yesterday, when I showed him the mock-up I'm working on. I can show you guys the mock-up. So this is a mock-up that I'm working on. When I showed him the mock-up, he asked me, but Josh, this is already the website. Like, this is the website. Why do we need Webflow? Because you know, as a team we were using Webflow. So he asked me, why do we need Webflow then? So I had to explain that Figma allows you to do wireframe. So this is pure wireframe. It's not an application. It's not the real design. It's just wireframe. So if you check, you will see. Let me get it all. So this is the wireframe. First you do the wireframe. All right. After the wireframe, as you can see, this is the navigation, the hero page, and then you start with the design. So I already started with the design, but I'm having a problem with choosing which which picture to go with. This is the hardest part, like settling for the best picture. But then I shouldn't be wasting too much time because it's dragging me back. Back. I should have gone a lot further. So what you will then do, is start doing something like this, so I can show you guys. So from the mock-up, from the wireframe, I can already start putting the things, and then you can see it here, how it's going to look like. All right, because if you have to write the code, there is no way you can tell. For instance, if you look at this button here, there's no way you can tell if this button can be on top of this image and the user will visualize it. All right, now I can see that if I do it this way, my user will not be able to use it. Okay, so I can think of how to solve this problem in design before I write the code. Okay, and there are a couple of ways that I can actually do that. I can simply just say, put a white back, what is it called? Put a white background. Okay, reduce the transparency. Okay, and what is it? I think it should be 8 or so. I think it should go more. So now with something like this, I can then say maybe make the text black so it stands out. So if you compare what it was previously to how it looks now, then you can see the difference between what I had previously and what I have now. So you see, now it's a lot more visible. I mean, with some work, it's going to be more visible than this, maybe light screen or stuff like that. Okay, so this is how you will do it. I mean, there are so many approaches. I can add an overlay, and then, you know, there's so many approach. All right, but then how can you tell this if you're writing the code? That it's not possible to achieve that in code, to first write the code and then check the code to see how it's going to look like. It's going to be difficult, but with design you can quickly do it. Like you see how fast it was for me to quickly do it. With the color, I can even decide maybe the dark color is too dark, maybe this is better, or maybe, you know, maybe even go back to the green with the, so I can decide. All right, so this is where the design driven approach matters. And even from my design, I can already start to explore different font sizes, you know, or font typeface. Look at that. And I can also explore the color to see which one works best for me. All right, but if you have to do this in code, you can't see it. You have to, you know, keep going back and forth to see which one works best. But with design, you can already quickly see how it's going to look like, you know, and make a decision based on that. All right, and from the first class we had, there was something which I mentioned. I will repeat it for Miss Violet, who's just joining us. That so the path, taking the design-driven approach, all right, if you eventually feel like you won't, you know, be able to code, all right, it's more like we're aiming for the star. If you don't get to the star, then you fall to the moon. So with your knowledge in design, you can become a UI UX designer. Or okay. So because we'll be touching a lot of the design concepts, the type of fonts, why to choose a type of font, when to choose it, you know, and so on and so forth. Like the previous fonts that I had, this one, it has about about 6, okay, actually 8 typefaces. This typefaces means the font has a personality. Okay, the font has a personality, has the way it looks like. All right, now check this out. I'm using the same font, which is Cabin, for the paragraph, and I'm using the same Cabin for the title. So here I'm using bold, here I'm using semi-bold. The same font typeface. All right, so if I change, say for instance I use regular, no, I can't use regular there. Okay, I can use regular here, and then you will see how it looks. It's going to look differently. Let me use maybe medium. Okay, maybe spread it. I'm just exploring to show you guys how the fonts can look differently with different typefaces. Now, this font, this style looks different from how it looked previously. If I go back to the previous one, you will see. Look at that. It looks differently. I mean, different rather. So why would you choose this font type? How do you decide which font type to choose? Okay, why this image? Like if you look at this image now, it says the collaboration hub that moves work forward. And then you look at this image, you see it goes with what you see. You look at the other one as well, the same font. I will just quickly move the navigation bar so it looks the same for you guys. Okay, I've taken what I shouldn't take, but I'm going to remove it. Okay, so you see the same navigation, the same test content, different picture, and it matches. It looks natural. It looks like what you will see on a professional website. All right. So how do you choose the right picture? Where do you find the right picture? These are all the questions that we will be answering. Now, when you know all of this, and then you go to write the code, it's going to remove a lot of the pressure on you, because you already know what you will do, what you will write in code. All right. As against not knowing what you are aiming for, and then you want to write it in code. That's very tough to do, very difficult to do. All right. So that explains the approach that we are taking for this training. All right. This is for Miss Violet, because I wanted you to know that. All right. So pretty much use the way Webflow works. All right. Or how we approach Webflow is you start with the mockup. All right. This is the mockup. Okay. After you've done the mockup, all right, then you do the real design. As you can see, it says here, image in the background, the text, the navigation bar. The same thing is what you see here. All right. So first is the wireframe. Wireframe is the first. Next, design. Some call it mockup, some call it design. All right. After the design, then it's the prototype. The prototype basically is just adding a feature to it. Like on click, what should the computer do? So when you click, then go to the next page, just to replicate how the website is going to behave on the real thing. So if you look here, you will see prototype, and then you see interaction. So on click, on drag, on hover, do something. All right. I'm sorry, guys, just a moment. Someone is. Okay. So I hope that is clear. Please, I need to be sure if we are all following.
Sure. Yes. Sorry, I came late to the party.
Oh, you didn't miss. We started at around 1837, so it's fine. Yeah,
All right.
didn't miss much rather. Okay, so I'm going to quickly go over Figma. You have seen what Figma does. All right, you can find tutorials on how to use Figma, just in case what I provide to you is not enough, right? So I'm going to use, because this is an introduction to Figma, right? First, you need to download Figma. That's obvious. After you have downloaded Figma, then it will prompt you to sign in. Usually, it prompts to sign in with Gmail account. All right. The way Figma works is that there is a cloud. Figma works with the cloud. So if you're not connected to the internet, Figma doesn't work. Every design you make is stored in your cloud account. All right. I think this is why it requests that you use Gmail. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, it will prompt you to sign in with your Gmail account. And as soon as you do that, then you will see this page. Probably see nothing. All right. So when you're ready, then you can just click on the plus sign, and then it's going to add a tab. So it works like you are in the browser. I think even some of the keys in the browser works to close and open new tabs. I think so. Okay, so when it opens, all right, as we've previously discussed, Figma, just like Adobe XD and Sketch, is used to design mobile, desktop, web designs. That's what it's meant for. Okay, so to show you that, I'm going to click here, which is the frame. So the frame is what brings the structure, because it's not possible for us to know all the screen sizes in the world. Okay, it's not just possible, and there are so many phones, that some phones actually have the same screen sizes. How can you tell which one? I mean, that would be too difficult. I don't think anyone wants to put that in their brain. All right. So when I click on frame, it gives me all the devices. So there's a phone, and you can see different mobile phones. All right. So say, for instance, I choose an iPhone 8. You see, it gives me iPhone 8. All right. So basically, the guys at Figma were very intuitive. They called it a frame. All right, which is really cool. Although when you start to go deeper, you start to see some names, but then with practice, you get better. All right. So I'm going to delete this phone. I'm going to repeat with another phone, say Android, and then next to it, you can see the phone screen sizes. All right. So say Android. This is Android screen size. Okay. But say I want to design not for the phone, but for the tablet. Say iPad Pro 11. So this is iPad Pro 11 screen size. Okay, I don't need that. Say we want to design for desktop. Okay, desktop. This is desktop view. All right. So the guys at Figma are very smart, very intelligent, and they have gone as far as designing for mobile as well. I mean, for wristwatches, smartwatch. So this is for smartwatch, and you can find different smartwatches. Which one is this? 40. This is 38. So basically, it's just incremental. Okay. What else? So, and then they have for paper, and then they have for social media. So Facebook post, like that. Anyway, so that's the basic for Figma. You have this menu are useful for your document. So guys, I'll be using certain terms quite consistently. And when I use them, I'm using them in a very general context. All right. One of them is the document. When I say general, I mean that it may be called something else by a different group of people. All right. But to a large extent, that is what it's going to be called. Okay. Because there is really no other term for it. So all of these buttons help you to work on the document. All right. So if the Word document may seem so disconnected, think of it like you're working on Microsoft Word, and this is your document. All right. In fact, when you go to the web, all right, this is actually a document. All right. So if you say, for instance, I go to JavaScript for my brothers who we've touched a bit on JavaScript, and I type document, you see it selects everything in the browser. So this is actually a document. So, but I'm using the term document in a larger sense. So just in case it's called something else in different environments. All right. So in the case, if I go to Webflow, okay, if I go to Webflow, and I'm doing this intentionally so that you can see Webflow in action for those who haven't seen Webflow, so that when we start using Webflow, you would have seen it. Because my approach is that consistency is very important. See the first time, you only see how it works. See the second time, then you start noticing details, but you may not be able to do it. See the third time, then it starts making sense what should be done at a particular time. So this is Webflow, and everything you see here is a document, all right? And they are all clickable, draggable, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is what we will use to build websites in the end. All right, this is what we use to build a website in the end. All right, it will act like our IDE. So, Mr. Jimmy, the reason why the previous video you saw was to strike a connection why we're using Figma, why we're using Webflow instead of writing the code in VS Code, right? So since it's a design-driven development, we are choosing this path. And we're choosing this path not to say that VS Code is irrelevant, but to say that the same thing you're doing here is the same thing you would do in VS Code. The only difference is that with Webflow, you don't write the code. You visually make the connection between your design, instead of your VS Code. You make the connection between your design here, your design in Figma, this is Figma, and then replicate that design in Webflow. And when you replicate the design in Webflow, you have your project, which is live with a link. So it cuts that cognitive overload of having to push it, use live server, so there's a lot of cognitive overload taken away from you, so you can focus on design, right? So I think this is a very, very rich approach, and can make you go fast. By the time you can churn out, crazy designs, like awesome designs, man, you can already get a job. All right, you can already get a job. So this is why this approach was taken, because we're competing with those who have spent 3.5 years in universities, computer science students, and you want to compete with them. All right, chances are you can't. All right, chances are you can't. But with design, if you understand design principles, actually design is not necessarily like being super creative. I mean, I have my prejudices that almost every woman is have a strong sense of design than men. Okay, I may be wrong, but if you have a good design knowledge, not being creative, but just good design knowledge, have the right strategy, right approach, you can be employed in the tech industry, which is different from being a coder, all right? But with Webflow, we're going to touch on the CSS and HTML concepts, rules, because they apply, all right? Webflow only provides you the opportunity to see the code in action. Okay, so back to Figma.
Josh.
Yes.
Josh.
Yes.
Before you proceed,
okay.
I'd like to ask a question. Sorry for interruption.
No, it's fine.
Sorry. All right. So by the time you're done with the design on Figma, how can you replicate it, or can you link it to Webflow so I can see the code line? Right? Can you just copy the design and paste it on Webflow?
No.
Or what?
So it's one of the highest searched thing. Like many people want, that they want to beat the gun. So export Figma to Webflow. So there's been a lot of search for it. A lot of search, like from Figma turning your stack to design, how to convert Figma design to Webflow, from Figma. So many people have tried to, like, can it be done? Exporting it. But if you remember, I mentioned in one of the session we had last that Figma does not provide you production ready code. It doesn't. It doesn't provide you production ready code. So you can only see, say for instance, I can show you. So say for instance, look at this font. So I'm using Poppins, semi-bold, font style 75. So if I go to Figma, Webflow rather. If I go to Webflow, you will see I'm using here Poppins, semi-bold, 75. So it only helps you to, like, let me do it here so you can see it. So if I say now, let me select this container. So it's going to dump it inside. So heading, okay, heading, and I choose Poppins. I think it was semi-bold, 75. And I type the same thing. I type the same thing inside. Have your best chart. And then I make it white. Okay, this is not Webflow. It's not Figma. So you can't just drag something around because it has to make sense of it in the context of the web. So, but generally, if you look at this is line height of 1. So, okay, not so much difference. But basically, if you look at the two, they look alike, and I'm getting these settings not from Webflow directly, but I'm getting the settings from here. So when you design in Figma, you see how it's going to look like. All right. And the same way it looks in Figma, it's the same way it is going to look in Webflow, or not Webflow, but in the web. All right. So that's the key thing. One way to show you guys what I'm saying is this. When I started using Figma, okay, there was something I was doing stupidly. I'm going to show you that. So I will adjust the screen because I felt like it's too small. So I will adjust it myself so I can see it clearly. Okay. Then I will code into this space. So what was happening? By the way, this is a cool design, guys. Can you see that? Really nice design. This overlap. I think I will try something like this.
It is actually.
Yeah, it's a good. So, well, that's what Figma gives to you. This is what Figma gives to you. And overlap is a valid concept in design. Okay, so when I do something like this, and when I hit on the preview to preview it on the web, so you see what happens. Okay, luckily it didn't happen because I have the wrap to 100% of the width. But if I wrap it to which one is it? Okay, so luckily it's showing. But generally, what I want to show you guys is that at that time, all right. Now it's not acting that way now, but yeah, at that time when I preview it in the prototype, all right, it's always spilled. All right. What the effect of that is that I wasn't using the right measurement. Okay. And what it meant is that if I take the measurement here of the width and I apply it to Figma, okay, and I apply it to Figma, my page is just going to be messed up. Okay, say in the, actually I don't want to ruin my design, but let's say I apply it to my body, something is going to inherit it for certain. So to the width, okay, it's not allowing me. say hero section, apply the width, fixed width, which is so wrong to do. Okay, so you may think this is okay, but when you look at it closely, this is what is happening here. Let me show you. So you see this, white space. This is not normal. All right. So it's not normal because this is not the normal width for a web page. It's showing quite okay because I have a very wide screen monitor. But on the normal monitor, it's going to spill, which means that you will have to scroll. You know, it's going to mess up your design.
Okay, it doesn't fit to the screen.
Exactly, it does. You can see it already. So it's already mixed up. So now I will have to like, you know, scroll to that side. So you see that because it's not the fixed screen size. All right. So Webflow, Figma gives you that opportunity to see how it's going to look precisely, how it's going to look. And honestly, now I want to try that design. I'm sorry, guys. I'm so tempted to try it. I think it looks so cool, right? And then have some. Yeah, I'm listening to you.
Chief.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chief. So so those ready-made websites, right?
Yeah.
Okay, like one you were inspecting, the Google page you were inspecting earlier time. When you inspect that, you click on the toggle where you can see different sizes, the screen sizes. Are you saying that all the website people built, they built it based on the screen sizes? Like if I build for desktop, I'll have to replicate for mobile too.
Yes.
Is that what it means?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. It's design. This I often use the term what you see is what you get. So basically to say that no, that's not the term. So in programming is literal. So you have to be explicit. You cannot say something to the computer and expect the computer to understand it in another context. No, you have to be literal. You have to say specifically that this is mobile, and I will show you one project that I worked on. Actually, it's here. So when you design for your computer, you also have to design for your mobile. Okay, you can see this is a design for mobile. So you have to interpret, you have to, you know, design everything to the letter, how it's going to look like. So it's not like you get to that environment and then you start to explore. Oh, maybe let me put this button here. Let me see if I put this head in here. No, it's not done like that. If you send in a design, a desktop design to a programmer would code this design, you also have to send the mobile design. All right. But we are lucky because we can do both, create the design and go to Webflow and create the design for both mobile, desktop, tablet. As you can see, in this design that I made, I have the desktop, I have the tablet, I have the mobile on landscape, and I have the mobile on a normal mobile device. So all had to be done, and the way you handle that in CSS is called media query. All right, we will touch on some of the things. So if you look at if I drag this thing, it shows me which mobile has this particular view. If I go further, it shows me different mobiles that have different views. Okay, so this is how you will write your code.
Okay. So, Josh.
Yeah.
Now, simply put, now what this means is Figma actually gives you that, opportunity to create your design
and visualize
actually
it.
visualize it the way
Yes.
it's going to look on the web.
Yes.
Yeah, then that already gives you an insight of what code you are going to write. So
Exactly.
when you get to Webflow, you can already tell whether you are doing the right thing or not.
Or not. Yes. Yes.
All right.
So sometimes you can get to Webflow. All right. You get to Webflow, and then you're like, where's Webflow? So I get to Webflow. I'm like, I think this font typeface may not be the best. Maybe I can try, say, Montserrat. Okay, let me try Montserrat. I'm like, maybe I like Montserrat better. Maybe with say reduced line height, I can say maybe 100 line height. So you see, you can already test it, but that's only possible because you already have designed it on Figma and you have seen. All right, but when you get here, you begin to explore. You can explore more, but it's redundant, because anything you want to do, you pretty much have tested it here. You have seen how it's going to look here, right? It's more, it's just doesn't. But generally, yeah, it's possible to get here, and like, if you look at my Figma design, I think later on I changed some of the things. Let me see. So previously I had a full rounded button for my design, and when I got to Webflow, I discovered that I think I like this square shaped button more, and then I changed it. Okay, so I can actually show you guys what I had previously and what I changed. So it's here. Look at this. This was what I had previously. So this was what I had previously, something like this. You can see the button is white and it's round. So it was what I had. Okay, but then when I got to Webflow, I thought that I think I can change it. So I changed it to this, and it came out to be even better. And this decision was made in Webflow. Okay, so it's very possible, because there's nothing stops you from doing it. All right, but you have to have a strong reason to do that. And also, if you look at this, you will see that the pictures are rounded. I'm sorry about this. If I go back to what I showed you guys previously, and you check, you will see that the pictures are sharp edges. Oh, the pictures are sharp edges. So I made a decision in you see that I made a decision in Webflow rather, yes. So it's very possible to do that. You see that sharp edges, and if you notice, the dots are also sharp edges. But then I decided no, because it's in a way contradicts this other chart. This chart looks round, and then this is sharp. So I thought that, and then the buttons are round. So I decided no, and these are like design principles. It creates some kind of an undesired tension. Okay, I didn't like the tension that it's creating, so I decided that I'm going to change it. So what I did, I came to Figma, I checked out the design to see if I would like it. I tested it, and I saw that it looks even better. That there is a consistency in all the designs. Okay, this chart works, and then the picture, they all work together. But I didn't stop there. I had to change it here as well, make this also round, and go all the way, change this picture as well. So that's design for you. You test it, you see how it's going to look like. And if you think it's the look is better, then you replicate the same thing. All right, so I think that explains it. So how do you create shapes in Figma? This is how you create shapes. So you click on this button, it gives you different types of shapes. Okay, so this is one shape. I can already show you beautiful things you can do with Figma. If I click on the frame and I choose desktop, which is going to give me the web screen size, or basically desktop screen size. All right. Then I can put a shape into it, this box. Okay. Usually 800 is the normal screen size, or yeah, usually 800. So I drop this here. Okay. And say I have a shape, say this type of shape. I make this brighter a bit. This is the background. Okay. And on this shape, I have a test. So this is the test. This is the icon to get a test. And I say heading. Okay. My heading is small. All right. If I drag it, if I drag the edge of my heading, it's not going to get big. All right. I will have to increase the size. So Figma enforces the way you will write your code, not the way you would do it in Microsoft Word or any like Photoshop. It enforces it so that you will do it the right way. And if you do it the right way, then it's possible for you to get the code here in the end. All right. So, and you can see all the measurements that is showing me. All right. So if I want to use that, then I can move things around. Like I want what is it called? A margin at the top, a margin of say 40 at the top, and say 20 on the left. So you see that. So there is no way after I have built all of this that my code will not look, I won't be able to translate this code in the web. It's going to come out, the same way. All right. So I want a paragraph, then I can type a paragraph, say, usually lorem ipsum, that, whatever, doesn't matter, whatever. So, and if I expand it, it doesn't work that way as expected. Okay. You have to give it, a defined width. Okay. And then I can change it to say Lato and reduce the size to say 18. Maybe 18 is too small, 24. Let me just get some text somewhere, so I don't have to have empty stuff there. I can reuse this there. Okay, so now it's visible. You can see it's a lot better, but it doesn't look good. As you can already see, it really doesn't look good. So maybe what I can do is I can have an image, okay, and so this is design. We're just going to tap. Okay, so tapping wasn't the best idea. It wasn't the right thing to do, but
sorry. How did you add the image now?
Oh, I just went. So basically here, in the same place where you add rectangle, line, arrow, ellipse, polygon, you just click the last one.
Okay, place image.
Yeah,
okay,
place image.
Okay.
So if you select the image, there are several ways to dump the image. If you dump it in a square, it tries to hide it behind it. So maybe try not to do that. Just try and either dump it outside by just single clicking, and then you can reshape it to the size you want, and then drag it as too big. Let me reduce it more. Then drag it into that image, into that shape. Okay, so my heading is hiding behind that. Let me, okay, let's see, what is the problem? I can't find my heading. Let me bring it to the top. I think it's behind. Feels like my heading has been corrupted. Bring to front. Bring to front. Bring forward. Okay, my heading has been corrupted. I think the heading has been attached to this image. Okay, I'm going to retype my heading, position the image inside the box, which is okay, and then retype my heading. Let's say team application is revolutionary. Okay, and I make it larger, say 24, and then give it width, and then make it bold. Maybe bold will make it better. And then this, I can still reduce this, maybe 14. Okay. And then build a button. So build a button, maybe give it this light color, like a normal fill button. Give it something like 10. And then say something like read more. Okay, so what do we have here? We already have what is often referred to as card. This is often referred to as card. And I'm sure many of you have seen this many times on the internet, right?
Yes, yes.
So this is a card, and just a moment, I want to show you guys something. So I'm going to modify this image top, make it also 8, make it 8. So if I do this now, all right, if I do this, you can see how easy it is to duplicate it. And with my, what is it called? With my alignment, which is the grid, I can already see how I can position it on my page. So guys, what I'm basically doing now is to show you the power of Figma. All right. It's not to complicate things, because like this, I can already see that my cards are too large, and if I have to replicate the same thing in the web, it's going to be difficult to do. So I have to conform to the alignment the web provides to me. And then I can, if you remember, we talked about calculating based on the alignment. So now I can fit in 3. I don't know if you guys remember this alignment.
Sure.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I can have 3. If I want to have 4, okay, my buttons are already screaming, dude, you messed up. If I want to have 4 of this, you already know how I can fit in the 4. If I bring back the alignment, I can say, I can recalculate. I have the alignment. If I want to have 4, then I need to put it in 3, 3, 3. Then it's 4, right? So say this goes in 3. Okay, maybe it's already looking awkward. I probably would have to reduce the font position. So I'm basically just showing you guys what you can do with Figma. Okay, so it's coming from the line height. So if I reduce the line height, then it positions well. Okay, this is I can already see that this font is too large if I have to use it for a card that is fitting into column 3 from my design. Then I can make the design decision to reduce my font size to about 18. And if this is 18, then the paragraph, as we know, has to be smaller because of visual hierarchy. What do you want the person who is using your card to see first? I want them to see the title before they see the paragraph. So I have to reduce the paragraph size to something smaller, which is why the font color is lighter. Okay, so this is design decision. And now that I have this card that looks fit, that looks okay, then I can spread it into each column, because now since I have it on the first on 3 columns, I can have 4 of this in 1 row. So you see that, guys. But how can you make this decision if you don't see it first? You must have programmed this for like 15 years or 5 years before you are able to make this kind of decision. So this is why we're taking this approach. I want you guys to see it first. So when we go to the code, it's easier to replicate in code, as against me telling you, okay, so we're going to use font size of 15, and then we make the paragraph font size of 12. You will ask me why, right? Why do we do it that way? Now, even from this design, I can already see that there's too much distance between the first part of this from the second part. So I know I can reduce the line height to kind of make it closer a bit, because with the huge distance, it doesn't look so connected. So these are the decisions you can make, because when you have to write it in the code, you have to write everything, precisely everything in the code. All right. So this is Figma in a nutshell. I don't want us to take too much time, but I mean, as you guys already know, when you build the site, you will change the pictures. You use different pictures, but you can see how easy it is to build something like this. If we have to replicate it in Webflow, it's the same approach. So I did it here so I can see how it's going to look. If I go to Webflow, I will use precisely all the font size, all the details that I have put in here is what I'm going to do in Webflow. All right. For you guys, Mr. Kudus and Mr. Muiz, I'm pretty much saying that it's the same thing you will write in VS Code. If you remember the last session.
Yes.
So it's the same thing you will write. So I'm just saying Webflow, but it's not necessarily Webflow, but any IDE, integrated development environment where you have to write the code. It's the same thing you're going to do. All right. And for me to do all of this is because I know the design principles. I'm basically following the design principles. It's not about being creative. I mean, if I look at this, I can already see one other problem. The button is too close to this bottom. So maybe I need to increase it. to make it look realistic. Another problem would be that the button is in the center. Meanwhile, the paragraphs are on the left. They are left aligned. So maybe I want to also left align it, but you have to make that decision yourself. As you can already see, the font, the paragraphs look left aligned, and it feels like the left align doesn't it feels like the button in the center looks better. So these are the decisions you can already see from the design. So if you have to code it, it takes a lot of decision making in the code, because coding requires some cognitive responsibilities, So this is what this allows you to do. It takes away that decision that you have to make in the code by you seeing the design. And when you get to the code, then you can just start coding the things you want. All right. So I think let me go a little bit more, and then in Figma, and then we can quickly go to HTML and CSS. I understand what we're doing is mostly design. Okay, so from what you guys can already see here, it tells you how much code you will write in a way. So it pretty much tells you how much code you're going to write. In a way, this tells you that. So I remember Mr. Jimmy was asking me that he said that he saw when he went to a website, and then he saw the long code. Facebook is an example. If you go to Facebook and you inspect Facebook, you will see how long the code is. Okay, so he was like, "Man, how long?"
Scary codes.
It's really scary. I often use Booking.com because of that funny thing Booking has, and the thing about come work with us, stop poking in the code. So this is Booking.com HTML. Now look at how much code they have. Look at how much code they have. They have 5,978 lines of code for their homepage. 5,000. Okay, so this already makes you scared. Like, see, are you guys for real? So one person is going to write all of these 5,000? No, that's not how it works. Okay, in a business settings, all right, my responsibility can just be to design card. So this is how it works in the business settings. I'm going to be allocated the responsibility or the task to build the card. So I'm going to build the card. Someone else is going to build the section. All right. And when the person builds the section, depending on what the person is doing, the person can test. So if you hear unit testing. So you write code to test code. So you build your card, you test it to see that it's going to work. Because if you don't test and it starts to malfunction, then it's on you. Okay. So like I explained, we will be doing some philosophical work so that when we eventually start, all the dots will be connecting. So this is the simple approach. When we eventually start, all the dots will be connecting. Okay. So we've done too much on Figma. I think you guys are enjoying Figma more.
I swear. I'm really enjoying it.
Yes, because of the visual effect rather than just typing.
It's very visual, yes. And when we take it to Webflow, the design and the visual effect flows naturally. So it flows naturally. So that's the advantage of using this approach. Mr. Jimmy, Miss Violet, any opinion, Mr. Afolabi?
How do you go from Webflow to Figma?
You mean from Figma to Webflow?
Yeah.
It's basically, so say for instance, I go to Webflow now. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to start a new project apparently. because I don't want to do it on top of this project. Okay, this is a free account, which means I can only have 2 projects. So I'm going to use this project and remove everything that is there. Okay, so if I want to do the same thing, all right, so I'm going to remove all of this. Okay, now first thing first, in the web, any part you are in the web, so say for instance booking.com, so I come to booking.com and this is what I see. Let me remove everything and enter it again. So I come to booking.com on Zoom 100 and this is what I see. What this means is that this is one section. All right, it's one section. So it means that everything you see in the web, all right, for you to properly manage it, you have to put them in a section. So there's a huge concept of containers in the web. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm in the body. All right, in my body, I'm going to have a container. But first, I need to have a section. These are the things you will learn when you start to code. So I need a section. All right, so this is, I'm going to use this as my section and I will give it a class name of section. Okay, so this is my section. All right, and inside of my section, I can already give my section this color that I have here. So if I take this color and I go to my section, put it there, here.
From Figma?
Yeah, from Figma, yes, from Figma. So so the question is, how do I go from Figma to Webflow? Yes.
Yes.
So now I have this, okay? Then I will need a container now, right? In my section. So I have my section. The next thing I need is a container. All right. So I will go back again, click there, and then I'll put it in a container. As you can see, Webflow actually have some of those things if you want to use them. All right. Actually, I'm going to use Webflow's section because it's similar to what I would need. So Webflow section, and inside of the section, I will put. I can actually use Webflow's container if I want, but then I can use mine. Or let me use Webflow's container. Oh, whatever, it doesn't matter. So then I need this. Okay, this is gonna be a very long process, guys. Okay, I will give it a minimum width. Should I give it a? Yeah, I can give it a minimum width, and then I will make the margin auto. So it's going to bounce to the middle. Okay, and inside of this, I will put another container. So welcome to the web. Put another container. So now you can see I have 1 container, 2 containers, 3 containers. A div is more or less a container. So I can call it a container. I will rename it, call it a container. And then this 3rd container, I will use to handle my flex. So I will call this a flex box. Okay. And then I will apply the flex feature to it. All right, so one thing I know for certain is that anything I dump inside of this container is going to be in the middle.
Okay.
Right, so I'm going to dump heading 1, heading. Okay, let's look at where the heading is. For some reason, the heading is not in the middle. Let's see why. Because it's not aligned to the center. So that's to say justify. Okay, as you can see that, it's now in the middle. Okay, so I have done something wrong. So in the flex box, I still need to put the container. I still need to put a container. Now this is the card container. All right, this is the card container. I promise you guys this will be the last container, but you will have more anyway. All right, so I'm going to drag this into it. All right, so I'm going to call this container, actually it's supposed to be inside. All right, then I'm going to call this my card. Okay, card. All right, so I can already apply the color of the card to this container. So the card has a color of, I think this is the color. So I'm going to take this color and I will apply it to my card. Okay, so let's apply the color to the card. Okay, and apply the background color to the section. Yeah, and now I remember why that previous color didn't work. So I'm going to apply it to my section. Actually, I shouldn't apply it to my section because if I want to reuse it, because you want to reuse one section multiple times. But for the purpose of this, what we're doing, I'm just going to do it like this. Okay. So now I have my heading. Okay, so the first thing first, the test says that I'm using Muli bold 18, Muli bold 18. So I'm going to repeat the same thing over there. Okay, for my test, Muli, please have Muli. Okay, I don't have Muli. I'm going to use maybe Montserrat, because if I have to put in Muli, I will have to install Muli. All right, I don't have Muli, so I will use Montserrat. Okay. It says the font size is 18 and it's bold. So 18, and bold. Okay, so it's looking more like it. Now before my heading, I'm supposed to have an image. So I'm going to bring in the image. All right. So I'm going to choose. I'm going to upload the same image that I used, which is this image. It's too large. Webflow always warn you to not use too large images, so which is very, very good. So I'm going to use an image compressor for that. So I'm going to upload this image here, and it will compress it. Usually, because the image is like 6.4 megabytes, it's too large. If you put that in the web, it's going to take forever for that image to load, for the web page to load. Usually, when people want to use large images, they will put it in the down part, because when the page loads, it loads from the top. So the first part would have loaded. So that's what people often do. You can see that the image is still too large. So I can reduce it, because 3.1 is too large. So it's less than 1. Still go down. I really need something low. Okay. So I'm going to apply this. Actually, it's still too large. I can tell you guys that. So maybe something smaller is good, is better. Okay. So, but just for the sake of the training, I'm going to download the image, save it in my download, and then go back to Webflow. Oh my God, go back to Webflow. Okay, and bring in the image. So it's my download. Okay, so now it's here. Okay. All right. As you can already see, the image has gone berserk. All right. There are two ways to do this. I can give that fixed width from Figma. So if I look at the image, I can see that it has 269.2 width. I can already apply that width here, so it's not auto. because this applies it to the HTML. As you can see, it takes form immediately. So I'm going to put it before the heading. Okay. Now, because we have done most of the work in Figma, I don't have to retype or think what I'm going to type in Webflow. I will just copy what I already have in Figma and paste it here. Now, you can see that is already too large. All right. Then I will go back to Figma. I will ask Figma, what is your size? Figma tells me it's 225.27. And then I'm going to apply the same width to this. In this case, I'm going to use minimum width. Okay. Okay, didn't apply because I'm inside. Let's see. Yeah, it should actually apply. In pixel. Okay, that's because it's minimum. Let me put it maximum. Okay, so maximum. Now you can already see the font is squeezed to this part. All right, I will go back to Figma again. I will ask Figma now. I will say, Figma, what is the distance between you and this body? Figma says it's 24 pixel. So I'm going to use the same 24 pixel as the margin for this. So 24 pixel margin. Oh, actually, it's 24, right? Yeah, 24. So you see, it goes to the middle. All right. Now I know that I have a button after the. So see where it dumped the button. So I will put in the button in my card now. All right. Put in the button. Now I have the button. So I will consult Figma again. Oh, before the button, I have a paragraph. So I need to put the paragraph first. All right. So I will use the paragraph is semi-bold 12. Semi-bold 12. All right. So let's put the paragraph first. So in the card, put the paragraph. Okay. As you can see, it has gone berserk. The paragraph is, let's use Montserrat again, or let's use Lato. Lato is good for paragraph. The font size is 12. Okay. And we have the size, the width. I'm going to use the same width. Okay. So the same width. I will apply maximum width, and then it shrinks. I'm going to reduce the paragraph because we didn't have this much text in that paragraph, and I'm going to bring the button below the paragraph. Okay, and I already know that the margin is 24. I'm just going to apply the same margin, 24. Okay, and I will apply the same margin for the button as well, 24. So everything stays in their place. And I'm going to apply another margin below the button, maybe the same 24, just to push the thing down. Okay, so as you guys saw, I reduced the distance between the first line and the second line by using this. So I'm just going to use the same one in my Webflow. So I'm selecting it and I'm giving it this in percentage. You see that? So, and if you remember, guys, we had, I'm just going to give it a space at the top so it pushes it down. So I'm going to use margin, say margin 60. Doesn't, okay. I'm not going to apply it to this margin. So I'm going to use the parent to push it down. So this is usually how it's done. So if I apply it to the parent, I'm going to use padding because it's inside, so it pushes it down. And if you guys remember, there is a border. So, but before I put the border, let me put both padding at the top and padding at the bottom, 60-60. So I'm going to now put the radius, so it's going to be round. Maybe this is too much. Okay, the image didn't round. That's because I have to do it differently for the image. So I'm going to click this one, and I'm going to say, oh, what did I use for the body? I used 6, so I'm going to use 6 for this as well. So 6 here and 6 here. So if you look at it, it's looking like it. So now I know I need to just focus on the button. The button color is this color. Okay, and I'm going to do the same button color, which is here. I'm going to paste it. Okay, I know the button is round, so I'm just going to make it round. If I want, I can still take precisely the width of the button, which is 174. So take it and I put it 174. Where is it? The width. So max width. And there are reasons for max width and max. Did he take it? Okay, for buttons it didn't work, so that's because it wants me to do it differently. So I'm just going to select the test and look at the distance between the test, and that is like 45 by the side, 9 at the top. Okay, so I'm going to do the button differently. So 45 at the top. No, sorry. Okay, 45 at the top, 9 at the side. So 45 by the side rather. I'm going to use 40 because 40 kind of makes sense more. And the test is black, so I'm just going to make it black. I'm not selecting the test. This is the test. Okay, there's a bit of an issue here. My test is still showing me white. Let's see. Okay. So I can say precisely what font color. I'm still using Moli, so I'm just going to use Monserrati for the test as well, right? Because it's already going to look the same. I can make it medium bold or even semi-bold. Maybe not so dark. Make it a bit lighter. Okay, and now that I have this card, I can now, because I already have flex, so if I paste it, it's going to act like that. And since it's like this, I can now have margin in between all the cards. And since they are all the same, classes, if I add it to one, it adds to all of them. So I'm just going to add it to all of them. Say 10 and 10, which is going to become 20 in the end. So guys, this is it. So that's how you do it. You see how I'm using what I have in Figma to replicate it in Webflow. Okay, so the decision has been already done in Figma for me. So I don't have to think it too much in Webflow because I know precisely if I follow the settings, the specifications which I have specified in Figma, it's going to come out the same way here. Okay, so yeah, we've done a lot about this. We haven't really written HTML or CSS, and we've almost done 2 hours. So I think we should call it a day, but this is a good experiment. So you have seen how we can go from Figma to Webflow. I think this visual is relevant. So in the long run, you can be confident. If something doesn't work, you know, maybe you're not doing something right, and you can quickly check here in Figma to be sure what is not done right, you know, and you can replicate that well in Figma, in Webflow rather. Okay, so I wouldn't want to make this video so long. There are so many concepts that I have used. If you remember, there's a lot of container. This is actually how the web works. All right. So it may seem strange in the beginning, but you will eventually get used to it. For instance, the section, I made a section 800. If you remember, I said it's usually 800. So I would have to say 800 here as well, so that the section is going to, is it minimum? Yeah, okay, I use minimum pixel. What am I on? Oh, I'm on the body. It's not going to work on the body. So I'm going to, yeah, on the section for 800. Okay, for some reason it's not accepting it. Ah, okay, I know why. Yeah, I'm trying to change the settings on the fixed Webflow settings, I guess. So I need to create a class myself and then modify the settings. So, but generally, guys, this is how it works, going from Figma to Webflow. So this is why we will need to spend some time in the Figma. But just one thing though, if I bring back the thing, so you can see it's actually fixed. It fits perfectly well, even in the web. So this is part of what is called alignment. All right. I will still have to precisely use the margin to make them look exactly the same. So if I click this and I check, it's 27.8. Actually, it's supposed to be 30. So I have to, when I go here, so if you remember, I said 10, 10. So this is 10, this is 10. 10 from this on the right, 10 from this on the left. So I will have to say now, instead of 10, I will have to say 15, 15. You get. So 15, 15, we now add up to 30 now. But then there is a problem, because okay, actually there is the problem, and the problem is that there is a stretch here of a margin outside. If you watch here, so there is this 15 which I don't need. All right, so I have to remove that, because in my Figma it's lying directly on the first column. So there is something which is called, in CSS, it's called CSS combo. I will add another class. So there's a concept of class. I've taken it with the guys. So this will be first, and then this will be the last class. So basically mixing two classes for one element. So if I remove this now to 0, then I can remove it from this one as well to 0. So it positions well. So if I check again, see, I don't see that on here anymore. So that's called class combo. So what I have done, all right, I have just replicated what I have seen consistently on the web. All right. So you may think like there's some kind of creativity in the web, but many of us, we have used the web constantly, that some of these things are already in our minds. There is a philosophy that says everybody spends time on the other website, which basically means that if you try to do something different, then you will lose clients, you will lose users, because it's going to take them, some kind of cognitive overload to try to understand what you're trying to do. Like, what is this website about? So you have to, the way the web is built is that there's a lot of consistency. This website is going to look like the other website. The other website is going to look like every other website. So that's why what you see me do makes sense, because you have seen it several times on the web. All right. And I'm able to do it because I know how it has always looked like. And I'm just, going for that look. All right. So we will end the session here. I didn't expect that we would do this in
Josh,
yes.
Well, let me first appreciate your time and all the efforts you've been putting into all this thing over the past few weeks. But there is something I would like to suggest, actually,
Okay.
owing to the fact that basically every one of us are actually busy with some other commitments like work, family, and stuff like that. I would suggest after every session, if an assignment, kind of, no matter how small, is rolled out, so that by next class, just take
you present that.
God bless you, rather than just assume that you've taught us something and we just go to sleep and be waiting for Josh to come and fire on the next time.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that. I think that's a very good observation. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, so let's see. So, all right. So, guys, the task which I will give in this case will be to create this type of design. All right. Create this design. Create it in whichever form you feel comfortable. All right. Just create this design. All right. If you need help, you feel free to write me. Say you may not necessarily have this column, so it's not so important for now. All right. So just create this, okay, and present that in the next class. If you can achieve something like this, then you would have understood, certain things that makes it possible. All right. I think with that, you can also end up doing a bit research on your own. Right. So, yeah. So guys, I think that would be the task. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks again for your time. Also, the Webflow environment, are we downloading it or?
Just register. Go there and register. And I think I explained how to register in the third video, so you can watch that and see how the registration process is done.
Okay.
And what you will see, I think I explained it in detail what you will see there. But let's try not to beat the gun. The essence of showing that Webflow is to show the end goal. All right. But after you have seen the end goal, the idea is that you see everything. And then when we go back to the first thing and then we're doing one thing, then in the back of your mind, everybody knows that the end goal is we push it to Webflow. So guys, let me show you something. In Webflow. So I have this in Webflow. Look at this. I can publish it. And if I publish it and I go to the web page, this is how it is. And I can send everybody, all of you, the link to the Webflow. So you can even see it yourself from anywhere. You can see this design from anywhere. All right. So you can see it looks exactly the same. If I didn't want to publish, you can also preview what you're doing. Okay. So this is the advantage. All right. If you when we get to Webflow and you push something to Webflow, you can already send it to me. I can look at it. All right. But this is the advantage of Webflow. All right. But I think that's it for today, guys. But the task would be to recreate this, because if you can recreate this, you will get an understanding of design. When it comes to writing the code, it's going to be a lot easier because you know what the code entails. In the case of this heading, for instance, what does it entail? It entails a font